Pear breakfast bake. Some people call it breakfast casserole, breakfast bake. So the first thing we're going to do, oh, and by the way, this has pear in it. I've just chopped up one pear. You want to just make it a small little bites, and I kept the skin on. I like, I don't mind the skin. You could also use apple. You want to get this is like a little over a cup, a generous cup. So the first thing we're going to do, I preheated the oven to 375, and then, I don't know, this is about 11 by 9, and I sprayed it with the non-stick cooking spray. So this is a very simple recipe. You're going to try to find bread, a cinnamon raisin bread. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use 8 slices of this bread. So the first thing I'm going to do, so I'm going to put half of the eggs. That's going to be 1 cup. And you'll go ahead and just put that in the greased pan. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the cup of almond milk. Now the reason that I do this is where I mix up all the spices, because it's got several spices in it. That way you can kind of whisk that together and then throw the bread in, and then throw 1 more cup of egg white in it. So what kind of spices I'm going to use? First, let's go ahead and I am going to put just a pinch of brown sugar. I'm going to put 2 teaspoons. Now, the real sweetness, I keep it pretty low-key with sweets, because the real sweetness comes with whatever you put on top. On this one, I'm going to put powdered sugar, but certainly you could put any kind of syrup. You could put sliced bananas, more fruit, whatever. Ideally maple goes quite well with this flavor profile. So I'm going to put 1/4 of a teaspoon of ginger, 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, about 1/2 of a tablespoon of vanilla. And I do really like cinnamon, and this is cinnamon bread. So I'm going to go ahead and be real generous, maybe 1/2 tablespoon or a whole tablespoon of ground cinnamon. And then what you're going to want to do is just, you could either use a fork or a whisk, and you're going to just whisk this together to try to incorporate all the spices. I'm going to go ahead and pour in the pear. So I'm going to go ahead and take 8 pieces of bread, and there's no rhyme or reason to this. Just what you want to do is just try to get it in. You could even put in a couple whole pieces. So then once that's done, this might take another 2. It's a pretty big pan. So what we're going to do, let's try 1 cup of egg white. And then just kind of pour it all over everything. Because you want the bread to be completely submerged. So if you see any bread that's kind of sticking up, you want to just make sure that you push it down. And this is what the cinnamon pear breakfast bake turned out like. It's almost like a souffle, because there's 3 cups of eggs in it, egg whites. So this is what it turned out like. And then you should be able to get 8 servings out of it. And as you can see, it's like really light and fluffy. And it did wind up baking for about 35 minutes. So if you just don't want it to get too brown, I'm going to go ahead and take this out so you can see the finished product. And then I usually serve it with a little bit of breakfast sausage, and a cup of fruit. What you want to do first, now this is optional, but I am roasting raw pepitas, pumpkin seeds. They're baby pumpkin seeds. You don't have to roast them. You don't even have to put them. I'm going to top the soup with these. And when you roast nuts or seeds, it kind of enhances the flavor. So these are done. You just want to make sure they burn really easy. So I had them on low heat just for a few moments and I kept stirring them. And they turned out really nice and golden. So then I'm going to turn the heat up to medium. And if you don't have any roasted butternut squash, that's the first thing you'll need to do. Take a whole butternut squash, slow and low. I would roast it at 325, 350, depending on how hot your oven gets, for 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the size. And then you just chop it into bite-sized pieces or scrape it into like big clumps. I already cut them and roasted them into small chunks. So this is pre-roasted butternut squash. We're gonna start off with 2 cups. And then I'm going to put 1 cup of almond milk. Regular Bisque usually has whole milk, but we're cutting calories and fat with this. And then we're going to put 1 cup of unsalted vegetable stock. You could also use chicken stock if that's what you have. I'm going to put a pinch of nutmeg, 1 garlic clove, and generous helping of pepper. Regular black pepper, you could use white pepper. Probably a half of a teaspoon. So what I'm going to do is bring this up, I'm going to keep stirring it, and I'm going to bring this up to a boil. And then if your blender or Vitamix will handle hot liquids, you could do a couple batches. You want to blend this to where it's really smooth. If you're afraid of your blender with the heated soup-like substances in there, you could let it cool and then blend it where it's real smooth, and then you could reheat it on the stove or in the microwave. So I will show you what it looks like when it's been blended and it's completely cooked. The Butternut Bisque is done. Now, something that I wanted to show you that I usually pair with a lot of my soups is something you can make in about 5 minutes. I've preheated the oven to 375, and then I've taken a pita, Joseph's pita, that's only 60 calories a piece. And then what you want to do is lightly spray with your nonstick cooking spray, and then you top it with whatever spices you think would go well. I'm going to put a pinch of allspice on this, and then you bake it. Keep your eye on it. You bake it for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then you can get it as crunchy as you like it. And I have some made over here that I've cut with a pizza cutter into little wedges that I'm going to serve alongside the soup. Let's unveil the soup. This is Butternut Squash Bisque. And it's all nice and toasty and warm. So let's see what this looks like. Very fall color. This looks like it's going to make 3 to 4 soups. And then, oh my goodness, it's really, really tasty. It's got a little bit of sweetness, but yet it's savory. This would make a wonderful lunch. You could probably get about 4 servings out of it. But for dinner, you could also make this for dinner, and it would probably be just 2 large bowls. So now what I'm going to do, the toasted pepitas, I'm going to just sprinkle about a half of a teaspoon on top. And then I'm going to serve it with my wedges. Just a couple of the little wedges. And there you have a wonderful fall Butternut Bisque lunch. Bon appetit. Welcome to dinner. Tonight's dinner is going to be another crock pot recipe with chicken. You could even substitute this for pork or even lamb. This is an Indian inspired dish. What I've started was about a pound of chicken. You don't even have to cut it up. You can shred it. You could break it up later, cut it up later. This is going to slow cook on high for at least 4 hours. So we've got the 1 pound of lean chicken in there. And then I've got, I just used whatever peppers I had that were gonna go bad. This is 2 peppers. One was red, one was yellow. You can use whatever pepper you have on hand. Use 2 of them. I use light coconut milk. This is 1 can, and I shook it up a little bit first to help, even though it still has a little bit of the clumps of the fat. I'm using 1 bag, that's about 2.5 cups of, you could slice your carrots, but these are really convenient and they're pretty inexpensive. Some sliced carrots. And then I like a lot of heat, so I'm putting, gosh, maybe a teaspoon of peppers. And then I'm putting 2 tablespoons of red curry paste. You could use green, but red seems to have more of the flavor profile we're looking for. We'll go ahead and put that in. This will also add a little bit of spice and like a warmth to it. And then I'm adding 2 tablespoons of organic peanut butter. I wouldn't use crunchy with this. You want to, because it's going to turn into a sauce. 2 tablespoons of low sodium soy sauce. Try to find low sodium because it does. This is why I don't put salt in the recipe either, because soy sauce really has a lot of sodium in it. Now, one thing I wanted to mention, this also has 2 cans or about 2.5 cups of green beans. Now, if you use fresh, you could go ahead and put them in at this point. But because I'm using canned, they're a little softer. I'm going to throw these in when it has about a half hour left, or even 15 minutes, because they're really already stewed. They're soft. And then I'm going to stir that up. It's going to cook for 4 hours on high. And one thing I wanted to mention, this is actually keto friendly. I think it's Whole30 friendly. It's Weight Watcher friendly, macro friendly. Now, because of the peanut butter, it does have, this should turn into about 6 servings. If you can stretch it out to 8, it would be a little less, but if you do 6 servings with this, it's going to be about 350 calories, not counting the rice. Now, to keep it keto friendly, or if you're kind of watching your carbs, Trader Joe's has riced cauliflower stir fry. It's just cauliflower rice with a little bit of Asian taste to it. You could also use just any riced cauliflower. And then I will show you the final dish after it's been stewing for 4 hours. See you later.